Hi, I'm Hanina Sharawi and welcome back to Coding with Girls. If this is your first time here, Coding with Girls is an initiative that has a curriculum that's designed to inspire enthusiasm for girls within the field of computer science and technology. If this is your first time coding and you came here for a coding video, I would recommend you go visit the first video, which will just be up in the eye above. Just click on it. It goes through the key terms, but now let's get on with the video. Today we'll be talking about block code and building a simple game together. I know this might seem like a jump, but trust me, we'll walk through it all. And if you have any questions throughout any of this, please feel free to comment and again email me. It's in the description of the channel and the description of the video. Thank you. Now, what is block code? So as it says here, block code is a series of blocks that can be clicked together to create a program. As you see here, we have this example. This example is from the IDE we'll be using, and IDE is just a place where you'd code. And it's this example, the reason I picked this has iteration like we went through last time. This is a count controlled iteration like the for loops because it has the repeat 12 times. This basically just says like when the green flag is clicked, repeat this 12 times and then say this for this long and then wait this length of time before repeating again and again because the count is determined at the very beginning. It's count controlled and it's like a for loop. And at the end, say Batman after you finish your 12 times. Basically, block code is like normal coding kind of, but without the syntax and without having to type. So you don't have the nuances that the syntax has and the complications of that. It's just to get your head around the theory of it. And once you grasp that idea, you can get into the actual coding of it and typing it up and getting into the more complex ideas. So now, what is Scratch, the IDE we'll be using? So Scratch is a web-based block code IDE, which IDE just means Integrated Development Environment, which we just said, place you code. And it's web-based, so it's just on the web, it's on the internet. And it only has block code, which is just those blocks you drag and drop, like we just saw. It was created at MIT by some students in 2007. And if you see when you search up Scratch, it would be like scratch.mit.edu, I think. I'll be putting the link in the description, so please feel free to click on that. And it has a mascot of a cat known as Scratch, Catfootus Bagundus. I've been trying to say that Bagundus last name. I am not sure if I pronounced it right, but we're going with that. But it is a very commonly used platform. I used this when I was first learning how to code, and they thought they used this at schools, and I highly recommend. I'll also be putting some tutorials in the description below if you'd like to see them from Scratch, from the creators of Scratch and the Scratch team themselves. So if you're confused about something, please feel free to watch those. And again, email, comment, anything to come ask me. Let's go through some Scratch keywords. The first keyword is like a keyword for all of coding, not just Scratch. It's a variable. And as it says, it's a form of storage that can be called on. So like we could have name, and we could have my name, like Nelida. We could have your name. Or you could have Scratch the cat's name, Scratch Catfootus Bagundus. And you could have any of that as name, or you could have like age, and like Scratch the cat that was born in 2007, they'd be turning 17 this year. So you'd have like age equals 17, or whatever your age is, you could have that. You could have a decimal point like money spent, or you could even have like a letter like X and set that to 256, or you could set that to false or true, or any of the data types we went through last time can be set to. It just stores that data. Then we have sprites. Like you saw that image of the Scratch Cat. So the Scratch Cat is the like default sprite of Scratch that we will see, and it's just like a character or an object that's used in Scratch. And then we have costumes. Costumes are kind of like pictures-ish. They're like costumes, like imagine if you were to wear a different outfit. It's kind of like that. Like it's like your character wearing a different outfit, or they might be looking a different way, or they might be a different color, or like if you're running, maybe one is them standing, one of them is like running, or it's like the different positions of the running. So when you click, it like changes between the two, so it looks like it's properly running. Any of those. It's just costumes for one character, basically, like a theater change clothes. Then we have backdrops, which is the background. That's quite simple. You have the block palette, which is just the place where they store all the blocks. So as we'll see them on the left hand side, it'll just have a bunch of blocks and you can just select through and just drag and drop them into the code area, which we'll be talking about now. And then we have first the stage, where the character sits, where you see your code run. And you, in the next video, we'll be going through the different layouts and you'll just see it right there. And then you have the code area, which is basically where you place all your algorithm and your blocks in your code. And yeah, so let's go look at this all. So now you can see this is the code area in the middle, and you have the stage with a little scratch the cat. And here is our block palette. So with the block palette, you can just drag and drop them. So we have different options and there's different sections. So you see you have like motion, looks, sound, events, control, sensing, operators, variable, and my blocks. And as you can see, you can just slide down. Or what you can do is you can like select on them and then they change. So it's just your personal preference of what you want to do. Sometimes if you really want to get to, like, if you want to go to the next section, it's easier just to scroll. But if you want to jump a few sections, it's easier to click. But you can see like events has things like when this is pressed. Control kind of has those like iterative loops and those selections, and like if, repeat, forever. And you can see the repeat is count control. The forever is kind of like a while true, which was like, you remember those conditional arguments? It's like that. They have a while, and they also have a repeat until, which again, what we said last time, is kind of like just like a pseudocode thing, but again is used in, it's like post, like it should be post conditional, but yeah, here it is preconditional. But you have these different options, and you have a variable section where you can make your own blocks, which we will not be doing this time, but I do implore you guys to go try that out. It's quite cool. But here is the costume, so you can see it's like just like a different position, like a different costume, a different picture for the same sprite. But yeah, you can draw, you can color, you can change them, you can take pictures from the internet, you can really do what you want with this. And yeah, it's that simple. And you have sounds. So this is like the sound they have in here already. It's like the meow sound for scratch the cat. But again, you can bring in your own MP3 files and put them in, and they work. So that is basically how Scratch works. So now let's go into that game we'll be working on now. So we'll be working on a shooter game. So we're going to be building a very basic shooter game, so that I'll walk you through that, and afterwards you guys can try to do it yourselves. Again, if you have any issues, please come and ask me. But I hope that this will go through everything you kind of need to know and try out. So here we're back on Scratch. So first, let's go press on the backdrop and create a comment. A comment is this amazing tool that programmers use in real life, and we'll go through that when we do typing code. But just create a nice little post-it note. So let's create a list of the sprites and the variables we may need. So the sprites that we are currently in need of will be like the shooter, the enemy, and shots. Yeah. And variables are just something you can store, yeah? So if we're doing a shooter game, you kind of want to store like the like points. So we're going to just call it score. And as we go to the bottom, we just want to kind of edit our variable. And here there's already one called my variable. We're going to rename it and just call it score. But you can see that make a variable, same thing. And in block code, you don't have to declare what your variable type is, just make a variable. So next, let's create like a background design. So before that, we have to say how many stages do we want. Yeah, like how many backgrounds do we want. So here we have game and game over, which is just kind of like the gameplay, and then the background for like when you're out. So yeah. Now, so as we create the backdrops, you just again click on backdrops, then click on that backdrop like area where it's like you would typically be costumes, and we choose a color. So I'm kind of liking this like bluey kind of color, and we'll just create a big rectangle that will fill the whole screen. So this will just be our background color. You could use the fill tool, but I've had like sometimes where it's like fidgety, so I just typically just create a rectangle because it is quicker. So you can create a new backdrop just like by pressing that button again, and that just again like we create a rectangle, and then we want to write game over, yeah, because like the game has finished. So when I think game over, I usually think like red because like, oh, it's done. So we're gonna choose like a red color and write game over. But you can also choose different fonts, and this font is kind of a little tired. It's like we want some nicer fonts, don't we? Than just a typical sans serif font. So the font we're gonna go with is Pixel because we're making a game. Might as well. Right, game over. In this pixel font, and just drag it. You just drag it to make it bigger. And one thing I really like about Scratch is that they have that like middle point thing, as you can see, and just so you can easily make it like in the middle if you'd like, and choose where you want it to be. So we're just gonna be fidgeting with it a little bit now. So now we have it like perfectly in the center. So we go to our code. But yeah, you can see our two backdrops. So now we're gonna want to create our sprite. As you can see, this is like the sprite collection that they already have these like pictures for you, but we're gonna be creating our own by the painting tool, kind of like what we did. So we know that our shooter kind of needs to be a triangle. So the only annoying thing is that in Sprite they don't already give you a triangle, so you kind of have to draw your own. So what I like to do is zoom in very much and then use the blocks as my like guide. So as we zoom in, let me just erase all of this. Let's just delete this. No, this is not looking good. Let's just delete this, and yeah, just draw a nice easy triangle. The blocks that you see, like how exactly it is like on each side. Okay, this is not exact. This is gonna bother me. Sorry. This is one of the most annoying parts because they don't really give you a triangle. You kind of have to like create it yourself. So I think this like 4 blocks up, 2 on the side, will give this very defined look of the shooter, and it'll be easy to get it as even as possible. Yeah. So let's fill it a color. I'm thinking of like, you can't go blue because the background's blue, but like a yellow would be nice. Like it like contrasts, you know. So just press the fill tool. Plus it's filled, and then we want to kind of center this to be like in the middle. And then we can center it here to be in the middle, but we can just type in the coordinates as you see where it says like X and Y. You can drag it as I showed you, or you can just write in X and Y, just type where you want, and that's it. Now let's create the next sprite. So we kind of want to create the enemy, yeah? Like, who are we going to be shooting? So since this is a basic game, we're just going to create a nice circle and just make it, then this is quite big. So let's go in and zoom it down. Let's just make it much smaller. I think it needs to be smaller still. I think it is a little too big. So now let's just, I forgot to change the names, so let's just change the names. So this is called Shooter, and this sprite is going to be called Enemy. And now let's just create our shots, or like bullets kind of thing. So these, again, we're going to want it to be like circles. And when you make more complex games, you can like use different like characters and stuff. There's very nice characters you can that already like provided for you. I just wanted to show the paint tool and like how you can create a simple game without having to use that and just paint. But you could, and they're really easy to use. Very same function. Sorry, but yeah. So here we're using some green, and now let's start coding. So first thing we always need to do is that when the green flag is clicked, so we want the score to be 0 at the beginning, yeah? So we always need to set it as 0 at the beginning, because if you click it and you click off and it's set to another number and you click again, then it's gonna be that other number. It's not gonna be 0. It'll just add on. So we need to click it to 0 at the beginning. So we want the shooter to always be focusing on the mouse, because our mouse will be our like driving force. So yeah, and we need to check if like it's touching the mouse. Yeah, if mouse is down, sorry. If the mouse is down, then we kind of want the shots to be shot, yeah? So we create a clone of the shots. So like there'll be like multiple shots and not just one shot is going. No, there's multiple shots going on at once. And we also want in between the things to be timed, so it's not just like a continuous line. It's like tick, tick, tick. So there's like gaps. So we let it wait. So we're gonna let it wait 0.5 seconds. Like we saw in that example where they had the wait between the senas, same thing. And now we also want to check if it's touching the enemy. Because if it's touching the enemy, then we're done. Like we lost, yeah? So then again, all you have to do, if it's touching the enemy, we want to switch the background. So we go to looks and we switch the background to backdrop 2. We didn't change the name of these backdrops. I think we should. And in the beginning again, you want to change the backdrop to backdrop 1, so that it's like always changed. So let's change the names of these backdrops. So let's call this game, another one game over, like we said in the very beginning. And yeah. So we kind of want this to be running forever, like as long as the game's going, we want this to be running. So we put that forever, which is like again like that while true loop we're talking about. And again, if it touches the enemy, let everything just stop because the game's over. Yeah. Now, let's go switch the shots and start working on the shots. Oh yeah. Also, we want to hide the enemy. Like we want to hide the shooter if it's like out, so we have like just game over. We don't have these things going on at the same time. So also, I realized we put the shooter in the wrong direction. It needs to be focused on the right side, so that it can follow the mouse properly. So because Scratch the Cat is always focusing on the right, so also you want to have that same idea of focusing on the right. Sorry, this camera is a little fidgety, but yeah. So you see, it just follows the mouse around. it's a little fidgety, but as everything comes together, it will be much smoother. It's because I'm moving very fast. But you see, it's kind of moving. It's just when the mouse is down, if you're clicking down, it's like much slower because it has to do more things. But now, let's work on shots. So, for shots, we want to control the clones, not the original. So we want to kind of hide the original and show the clones. So when the button is clicked, we want to hide shots. But then when shot starts as a clone, because it was on mouse down, we want to show them. Now also we wanted to go to the same position as the shooter because it starts at the shooter, and we kind of wanted to point towards the mouse pointer, yeah? So it's in the same direction as the shooter. Now also, if it's touching the, like we want it to move unless it's like touching enemy or it's touching the edge, because then we just want it to stop, yeah? So here we're taking touching enemy from the sensing blocks, and again we want to take touching edge. And one thing we can use is those OR blocks that are in operators and put these together so that we can put them both in the repeat untils. And then just put it in one. These OR things are very good for like for efficiency and stuff, so you don't have to ask like multiple loops. So we want it to move 10 steps, just so it moves in like that one direction. And afterwards we want to delete the clone. If it did, like if it's gonna repeat until it hits one of those things. So afterwards it's like it failed the if statement, so you can just delete it. See? It's working when we're going on mouse down. And now let's work on enemy. So the same thing for enemy. We kind of want to create clones because we want like many enemies around, not just like one sole enemy. So it makes the game harder. And so again, we hide the original and we show the clones. So we hide, and we want to create clones of myself, or like that's what it's called. So we have to go into the control and forever create clones. Of myself. And we want to wait. I think we should wait longer on the enemies just so it's a little like easier. So let's go wait 0.8 seconds. So when I start as a clone, we want to first of all show, obviously, and we kind of need to decide the different like positions the enemy might start at, yeah? So we can do this by choosing a random number between 1 and 4. So we'll do like right side and any random height, left side at any random height, top and any random like x coordinate, and bottom and any random x coordinate. So choosing these random numbers between 1 and 4 will let us choose between these 4 choices, yeah? I hope this shows like the benefits of using like comments and how it can help. So now we want to pick a number between 1 and 4, and we wanted to see like what it equals. So we put that pick random in there. We want to say equals 1 and 1, 2, 4. I will say in normal coding, we go between 1, we usually use 0 as our beginning, but in block code, we can use 1 and it's okay. So here we want to put like a random x coordinate because we're going to start at 180. So minus 240. Oh wait, we forgot. We forgot to put in a pick random block. We'll just go get that from operators and put that in from minus 240 to 240, and we want the y to be 180. So minus 180. No, minus 180 is the top. Yeah, sorry. Minus 180 is the top, so we want it to be minus 180, not 180. Or should we just start at the bottom? Well, we'll do 1. Anyway, so now we want to duplicate that top block, but now just check if it's like 2. And now we'll just do the same thing where it's like minus 240 to 240. But as you can see, you can just use that duplicate thing. Is very practical, but sometimes like duplicate things you don't want, so you just delete those by dragging them into the block palette. But you just set this to minus 180, and again we want to check again, but we want to check if it's in, wait, sorry, we put this in the wrong section. It should be in the else, because if it's 1 it cannot be 2. But now we want to check if it's like 3, and duplicate, put that in there, change to 3, and then duplicate and put that one block, and put that in the y coordinates, because now we're going to go between minus 180 to 180. And then here we're just going to put 240 and then just duplicate that block, because else it will just be 4. Yeah, if it's not 1, it's not 2, it's not 3, it must be 4. So we'll just put that. And we will now just start about like the moving of direction and everything. That's just the starting positions of the shooters, yeah, the clones. So now we're gonna point it towards the shooter because we want them to be moving towards the shooter, and we want us to move, like, not make it 10 steps, to make it easier on us and let them go a little slower than the shots. And let it go for like 8. But again, we want this to repeat until it's let's actually go with 5. But we want this to repeat until it's touching the shooter, because if it's touching the shooter, it's like it's 1. Yeah, so we should check if it's touching shots. So again, we use those sensing blocks. Check if it's touching shots. If it is, then we just need it to delete the clone and change the score by 1, because now it won 1, yeah? Delete this clone. And then if it hasn't, if it like touched the shooter, then it's done, it's out. So it comes out of that like repeat until block. So we can just hit stop all, and we want to just hide thing. But again, you see you can shoot. And see, this is called testing, and testing is one of the most important things in computer science and coding, because you just need to make sure your code is working. There's always gonna be like some bug you didn't notice, like, or something you didn't realize you didn't cover, especially with bigger programs. So the more you check on like smaller things, the better it would be. Especially like, when you have some languages like C++ or stuff, when the background is not switching, so that's a little weird. Let's just switch it here to game over. it's like when you have C++ where like you have semicolons and stuff. If you have a huge chunk of code and you didn't test, and then like you test at the end, there's an error. It could just be a semicolon that you missed, and then you have to check the whole code. It's very impractical. So testing quite regularly is quite good. Like especially when you have like checkpoints, like oh after this function I will test some of that. It's very beneficial. So now it goes to game over. Okay, but now shots is hidden. Not shots, sorry, shooter. So let's make sure that we put show at the beginning, so because we said hide afterwards, yeah. So we wanted to show at the beginning, because again the same thing like with the score and the switching backgrounds. Okay, but now shots is not hiding. Shooter, sorry. So we need to figure out how to do this. This is the exact thing I was talking about bugs. Just make sure you're constantly testing for this reason. So let's just sorry. Just trying to figure this out. Okay. I think if we put this before mouse down so it doesn't check for mouse down, because what if our mouse is down and it just doesn't get to this because it's repeating that? Yeah, that works. So there we made our game. You guys, I will try to put the link for it so you guys can also try it out and look at it and look inside it in the description. And I'll try to even put it in the eye if I can. And just check it out. And please, I hope you guys followed along throughout this building process, because that's very important so you like learn what you're doing. And now we'll get on to what you can do next. So what can you do next? So next, what you can do is create a start page for the game, as I've said here, which is quite easy. Just check if like maybe the mouse is clicking on something, or maybe they typed a number or something like this. And you can write like names or stuff like that. That's like quite easy things you can do. You just need to figure out the little things that we might have not done, but it should be just looking through those block palettes and trying things out, and you should be able to figure it out. Again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email, comment, anything. And there are the tutorials from scratch, but this is my YouTube video, you can come and ask. And also we have you can try to make a shooter game where the shooter can move in all directions, where you use those arrow keys. Again, goes through something we haven't gone through, but it is very quite similar to what we did. So please like try to do it yourself, try to do some problem solving, because that's what computer science is. But if you do need any help, please feel free to ask again. And one thing that will be very out there, it's not something we did at all, like you'll be using the skills we used, but it's not going to be built on from this project. It's going to be creating a whole project yourself called a Flappy Bird game. The Flappy Bird game is one of the easier games you can build, and it's quite a fun build if I'm going to be very honest. So I will say try to do that yourself. There is so much for it, and like resources and stuff to get like the same pictures and the things all in Scratch already. So try that out, and again, please feel free to come and ask. But yeah, so thank you for watching. Subscribe and like. You can follow along on the playlist video, the playlist, which should be, sorry, wrong hand, should be right there, if you can see it there. And also there should be on the top right there, yeah, top right there, there should be the subscribe. So please do subscribe and like, and comment down below any questions you'll have, and look at the description to find the YouTube videos from scratch, to find my Scratch project, and everything will be in the description and in the eye. Thank you.